Hello and welcome back to English Active Listening. I'm your host, Alyssa. It's so good to have you here with me today. Let's talk about something that I know is on the minds of so many English learners around the world. It's that feeling you get when you're listening to native speakers. Maybe they're talking in a movie or on a podcast, or perhaps you're in a real conversation. And the words just seem to fly by. You catch a word here and there, but piecing it all together feels like trying to catch smoke with your hands. And then, when it's your turn to speak, your mind goes blank. The words you know, the grammar you've studied, it all seems to disappear. You feel stuck, maybe a little embarrassed, and you end up saying something very simple or nothing at all. If any of this sounds familiar, I want you to know that you are not alone. This is one of the most common challenges in learning any new language. And today, we are going to tackle it head on. We're going to spend our time together exploring a deep, practical, and effective guide on how to improve your speaking and listening skills. This isn't about magic tricks or shortcuts. It's about understanding the real connection between these two skills and using proven strategies to build true, lasting confidence. So get comfortable, maybe grab a cup of tea, and let's begin this journey together. First, we need to understand a fundamental truth that many learners overlook. Listening and speaking are not two separate skills that you learn independently. They are two sides of the same coin, deeply and permanently connected. In fact, I would argue that powerful listening is the absolute foundation of confident speaking. Think about how a baby learns its first language. For the first year or even 2 years of its life, a baby does almost nothing but listen. It listens to its parents, to its siblings, to the television, to the world around it. It's absorbing the sounds, the rhythm, the intonation, the melody of the language, long before it ever tries to form its first word. The baby is building a massive, detailed library of sounds in its brain. Then, when it finally starts to speak, it tries to replicate the sounds it has heard thousands and thousands of times. The speaking comes from the listening. As adult learners, we often try to reverse this natural process. We study grammar rules, we memorize vocabulary lists, and we try to force ourselves to speak. Often without having done enough of the right kind of listening first. This is like trying to build a house without first laying a solid foundation. It might stand for a little while, but it will never be strong or stable. You simply cannot produce a sound accurately if you cannot first hear it clearly. If you can't distinguish between the vowel sounds in ship and sheep, for instance, you'll never be able to say them correctly with confidence. If you don't notice the musical rise and fall of a native speaker's question, your own questions will always sound flat and unnatural. So the very first step in becoming a better speaker is to become a much better listener. But I'm not just talking about passive hearing, where the sound of English is just background noise while you do something else. I'm talking about active, focused, and intentional listening. This is the kind of listening where your brain is fully engaged, trying to decode, understand, and absorb the language. When you commit to this kind of active listening, you'll start to notice incredible changes in your speaking, often without even trying. Your pronunciation will improve because you're internalizing the correct sounds. Your rhythm and flow will become more natural because you're absorbing the melody of the language. Your vocabulary will grow in a more practical way because you're learning words in their natural context. So let's forget the idea of practicing them separately for now and focus all our energy on building that strong foundation. By mastering the art of active listening. So, how do we do it? How do we practice active listening in a way that truly transforms our skills? The first step is to choose the right material. This is incredibly important. If the material is too easy, you'll be bored and you won't learn anything new. If it's too difficult, you'll become frustrated and want to give up. The sweet spot is content that is just a little bit challenging for you. It's material where you can understand the main idea, maybe 60 to 70% of it. But there are still new words and phrases that push you to grow. Think of it like climbing a ladder. You always want to be reaching for the next rung, not trying to jump to the top all at once. The wonderful thing about living in our modern world is that we have an endless supply of English listening material at our fingertips. The key is to find things that you are genuinely interested in. When you enjoy the topic, listening practice doesn't feel like work. It feels like entertainment. If you are a beginner, children's cartoons can be a fantastic place to start. Shows like Peppa Pig use simple language, speak slowly and clearly, and repeat vocabulary often. For an intermediate learner, sitcoms like Friends or The Office are excellent. The conversations are about everyday situations. The language is natural, and the episodes are short, which is great for focused practice. If you are at a more advanced level, you can challenge yourself with TED Talks, documentaries, or news broadcasts from sources like the BBC or NPR. Podcasts are another goldmine for learners at all levels. You can find a podcast on literally any topic you can imagine, whether it's cooking, history, science, comedy, or technology. Find a few that you love and make them a part of your daily routine. Audiobooks are also a powerful tool, especially if you can get the text version of the book as well. By choosing material that you find interesting, and that is at the right level, you are setting yourself up for success. Now that you have your material, let's talk about the process. This is where we move from passive hearing to truly active listening. I'm going to share a 4-step method that is incredibly effective. Let's call it the listen, re-listen, read, and repeat method. For this to work, you need to find a short piece of audio, maybe just 1 to 3 minutes long. It can be a clip from a movie, a short segment of a podcast, or a scene from a TV show. Step 1 is to simply listen. That's it. Put away your phone, close your eyes if it helps, and just listen to the 1 to 3 minute clip. Don't worry about understanding every single word. The goal here is just to get the gist, the main idea. What is the topic? What is the mood? Who is talking? Just try to get a general feel for the content. It's completely okay if you only understand half of it, or even less. This first listen trains your ear to get used to the speed and rhythm of natural speech without the pressure of understanding everything. Step 2 is to listen again, but this time with English subtitles turned on. This is a crucial step. As you listen, your eyes will connect the words on the screen to the sounds you are hearing. You'll have those aha moments where you realize, oh, so that's what that word sounds like. During this step, you should be ready to use the pause button. When you hear a new word or a phrase you don't understand, pause the audio. Look up the word in a dictionary. Read the definition. Look at the example sentences. Maybe write it down in a notebook. Then go back, rewind a few seconds, and listen to that part again, now that you know what the word means. This step is all about actively building your vocabulary and bridging the gap between what you hear and what you understand. Pay close attention to how words are linked together. You'll notice that native speakers don't say, "What are you doing?" They say something that sounds more like, "What you doin'?" The subtitles will help you see how these connected sounds are formed from individual words. Step 3 is to listen while reading a transcript. For many podcasts and things like TED Talks, you can find a full written transcript online. This is even more powerful than subtitles because you can see all the text at once. The process is similar to step 2. Play the audio and follow along with your eyes on the transcript. This reinforces the connection between the spoken and written word on a much deeper level. You can circle words you don't know, make notes in the margins, and really analyze the language. It helps you see the structure of the sentences and how the ideas are organized. This step is like having a private lesson with the speaker, where you can see exactly how their thoughts are constructed and expressed. Step 4 is the most active and perhaps the most powerful step of all for improving your speaking. It's a technique called shadowing. It might feel a bit strange at first, but I promise you it works wonders. Here's how you do it. You listen to a short phrase or a sentence from your audio clip. Then you pause the audio. Immediately, you try to repeat the phrase or sentence out loud. Your goal is not just to say the words. Your goal is to become an actor. You want to mimic the speaker exactly. Copy their pronunciation. Copy their rhythm. The beat of the sentence. Copy their intonation. The musical rise and fall of their voice. Copy their emotion. If they sound happy, you sound happy. If they sound serious, you sound serious. Let's take a simple sentence like, "I'm not really sure what to do about it." Don't just read those words. Listen to how a native speaker says it. They might stress the word sure. The pitch of their voice might go down at the end. They will link the words about and it to sound like ebut eat. In shadowing, you try to copy all of these details. You say it out loud. "I'm not really sure what to do about it." You might do this with the same sentence 5 or 10 times until it feels natural. Shadowing does 2 amazing things for you. First, it trains the muscles in your mouth, your tongue, and your jaw. Speaking English requires you to make sounds and movements that might not exist in your native language. Shadowing is like taking your mouth to the gym. You are building the muscle memory needed to produce English sounds correctly and automatically. Second, it builds a direct bridge between listening and speaking. You are closing the gap between hearing a sound and producing that sound yourself. This practice, done consistently, will have a massive impact on your accent, your fluency, and your overall confidence. You will start to sound more natural without even thinking about it, because you've practiced the melody of English over and over again. Within this listening practice, there are a few specific things to train your ear for. One is connected speech, which we've mentioned. Native speakers rarely pronounce every word distinctly. We link words together to speak more smoothly and quickly. For example, an apple becomes an apple. I want to becomes I wanna, because often gets reduced to just cause. Actively listening for these connections and reductions is key to understanding fast natural speech. Another thing is sentence stress and intonation. English is what we call a stress-timed language. This means that in a sentence, some words are said longer and louder than others. This stress is what gives English its rhythm. And it's also critical for meaning. For example, take the sentence, I didn't tell him you broke the window. If you stress I, it means someone else told him. If you stress tell, it means maybe you wrote it in a letter, but you didn't say it. If you stress him, it means you told someone else. If you stress you, it means you're saying someone else broke it. And if you stress window, it means you broke something else, not the window. The same words can have many different meanings just by changing the stress. Active listening helps you hear these subtle but crucial differences, which you can then practice with shadowing. Now, after all this focused work on listening, we can turn our attention more directly to speaking. The biggest barrier to speaking for most people isn't a lack of knowledge, it's a lack of confidence. It's fear. The fear of making a mistake, the fear of being judged, the fear of not being understood. The first thing you must do is change your mindset about this. You have to accept that making mistakes is not just okay. It is a necessary and beautiful part of the learning process. Every mistake is a learning opportunity. No one, and I mean no one, expects you to speak perfect English. Native speakers make mistakes in their own language all the time. The goal of speaking is not perfection. It is communication. If you can get your message across, you have succeeded. So please be kind to yourself. Give yourself permission to be imperfect. With that new mindset, let's talk about some practical, low-pressure ways to start speaking more. The first and easiest way is to talk to yourself. I know it might sound a little crazy, but it is one of the most effective zero-pressure practice methods there is. You can do this anytime, anywhere. As you go about your day, simply narrate what you are doing, out loud, in English. For example, in the morning you could say, "Okay, it's time to get up. I'm feeling a little tired today. I'm going to go to the kitchen and make some coffee. I need to get the coffee beans and put them in the grinder." You are practicing forming sentences in real time, using relevant vocabulary, with absolutely no one around to judge you. It's a completely safe space to experiment with the language. The next step up from talking to yourself is recording yourself. Your smartphone is a powerful language learning tool. Open the voice memo app and just start talking. You could read a paragraph from a book or an article. You could summarize the podcast you just listened to. Or you could just talk about your day, your hobbies, or your opinion on something. Speak for 1 or 2 minutes, then stop and listen back to the recording. I know, listening to your own voice can be uncomfortable for many people, but it is incredibly revealing. You will hear your own pronunciation, your own rhythm, your own hesitations. You might notice that you consistently mispronounce a certain sound, or that you always use the same simple sentence structure. This self-awareness is the first step toward improvement. You can't fix a problem until you know it exists. So be brave, hit record, and become your own language coach. Another fun and simple exercise is the describe a picture technique. Go online and find any interesting photograph. It could be a busy city street, a peaceful landscape, or a strange piece of art. Set a timer for 2 minutes, and your only job is to describe what you see in the picture out loud in as much detail as you can. For example, if you see a picture of a park, you might start by saying, "In this picture, I can see a beautiful park on a sunny day. There are many tall green trees. In the foreground, a family is having a picnic on a red and white blanket. The mother is pouring a drink for her son." This exercise forces you to think on your feet, to search for vocabulary, and to structure your sentences spontaneously. It's a fantastic workout for your brain and your speaking muscles. As you get more comfortable with these solo exercises, you can start to work on a deeper, more transformative habit, thinking in English. Most learners go through a 3-step process when they speak. First, they think of an idea in their native language. Second, they mentally translate that idea into English. Third, they try to say it. This translation process is what makes you slow and hesitant. It's why you often feel like you can't keep up in a conversation. The goal is to eliminate that middle step. You want to train your brain to form thoughts directly in English. This is a skill that takes time to develop, but you can start small. Begin by thinking simple, everyday thoughts in English. Instead of thinking in your native language, I'm thirsty, think the English words directly. I'm thirsty. When you see a dog, don't think of the word for dog in your language and then translate it. Just think, dog. As this becomes a habit, you can expand it to longer sentences. You can start having internal monologues and debates with yourself, all in English. This mental practice is what builds true fluency. When you can think in English, speaking becomes a natural extension of your thoughts, rather than a difficult translation exercise. Of course, to truly master speaking, you eventually need to speak with other people. This can be the most intimidating step, but it's also the most rewarding. Look for a language exchange partner. There are many websites and apps today, like HelloTalk or Tandem, that are designed to connect language learners from all over the world. You can find a native English speaker who wants to learn your language. You can then spend some time speaking in English and sometimes speaking in their target language. It's a win-win situation. The key is to find someone who is patient and supportive. Don't be afraid to try talking to a few different people until you find a partner you feel comfortable with. When you have your conversation, try to have a loose plan. Maybe agree on a topic to discuss beforehand, like your favorite movies or your travel plans. This can help prevent awkward silences. And remember to agree that the goal is communication and practice, not a test. Finally, let's talk briefly about vocabulary. To speak fluently, you don't need to know every word in the dictionary. In fact, most native speakers only use a few thousand words in their daily conversations. What's more important than the number of words you know is how well you can use them. So instead of just memorizing long lists of individual words, focus on learning words in chunks or phrases. For example, instead of just learning the verb decide, learn the whole chunk, make a decision. Instead of learning the adjective interested, learn the phrase be interested in. When you learn language in these chunks, it's much easier and more natural to build sentences. When you want to talk about deciding something, your brain doesn't have to search for the verb, then the right way to use it. It just retrieves the whole chunk, make a decision. A great way to practice this is to keep a vocabulary notebook. But instead of just writing the word and its definition, you should write 1 or 2 complete sentences using the new word or chunk. This puts the vocabulary into a context that you can actually use. So there you have it. A deep dive into the real methods for improving your listening and speaking. It all begins with that powerful foundation of active listening, choosing interesting material, and using the listen, re-listen, read, and repeat method, including shadowing. From there, you build your speaking confidence through low-pressure exercises like talking to yourself and describing pictures, while training your brain to think in English. It's a journey, and like any journey, there will be days when you feel like you're flying, and days when you feel like you're stuck. That's normal. The most important ingredient for success is consistency. A little bit of practice every day is far more effective than one long session once a week. Be patient, be kind to yourself, and celebrate the small victories along the way. You are capable of this. Thank you so much for joining me today on English Active Listening. I truly hope this guide has given you some clear, practical steps you can start using right away. If you found this helpful, please show your support by giving this video a thumbs up, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel for more lessons to help you master the English language. Don't forget to click that bell notification icon. That way, you'll be the first to know when a new lesson is ready for you. We are on this journey together, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.